All right, welcome to the Public Square, 11 minutes past 4, and we are set and ready to roll. On the Public Square, we're looking at all the big, significant political development issues happening in and around the country. Today on the show, we'll be looking at Mass Atrocities Tracking Report 2019, and that's on the idea segment with IOB, and then we'll be having conversations after that with Professor Chidi Odinkalu, as well as Agbaja Lingo, the now free journalist who did grab a lot of headlines, and we talked about him here. I remember when we spoke with Nobel laureate Professor Wole Soyinka. Follow the program on Twitter at Public Square NG, at Rotimi Sankore, at Ninjama, at Ideas Radio NG, at Aogo Obos, also at Nigeria Info FM. And then afterwards, we'll let you know when you can talk to us on WhatsApp, as well as when the lines are open. Good evening, Rotimi and Ayo.
Good evening, Aho. We need to also welcome our guest in the studio.
Yes, we have Jonathan.
Good evening. Jonathan.
Jonathan. I guess they are.
Well,
oh my God. I think I took off the headset. Okay, sorry about that. EA Jonathan, who's a member of Nigeria Mons Coalitions, founder, assessor, and Empowerment Foundation. Great to have you on Public Square.
And thank you for having us.
You're welcome. Yeah, as I was saying, what Ideas tries to look at in issues of moment are integrity, democracy, ethics, and accountability. Now, it comes under the general heading of anti-corruption, but as we always say, corruption is not just about the money and where that's gone, because when a report of this nature comes out, I think, before I get into the issues of who is accountable for it, I would like you to perhaps just give us a brief explanation of what the report is. It's a very short report, but in its 9 pages, including the cover page, it packs a powerful punch. And I wonder if you can give us a brief explanation of what's in the report.
Okay. So for some years now, I think for about 2 years now, we had started the process of basically tracking the killings. Because one of the things we saw that was coming out first with the Boko Haram insurgency, and then various things happening around the country, was you just hear these sensational reports. This has happened in this place, 1,000 people have died, or 300 people. And
unnamed
then
people.
Unnamed ones, so we're not even not properly accounted for. And then one set of authorities is saying that's not true, it was less. Another group of people are saying it was more. Sometimes the communities affected would say this or say that. I remember we had things like that in Agatu and several places, and so on and so forth. Even when, for example, Abuja bombing happened, we remember that bomb that happened on the outskirts.
Yes.
You know, we didn't have a clear figure.
Yeah.
And what struck me is that till today, there has not been a consistent list of victims, you know, that we can say, or the government can authoritatively say that this has happened. Some of that has started happening. So what informed this was that we need to really be able to say, okay, these are the numbers of people that have died, and corroborate these happenings.
Okay, so that's why you say that the figures that are given are actually almost undoubtedly going to be on the conservative side.
Absolutely, because they're corroborated. We only recorded the figures that we could collaborate or corroborate basically across the nation. So the report basically just looks at, it's stunning. At least 3,188 Nigerians were killed between January and December in atrocities. So 2019 alone. In atrocities, violence related, typically mass.
And can I please also ask you to explain, because, and I would urge listeners, I know this is radio, but I would still urge listeners to go to the Twitter handle of Nigeria Mourns or Global
Rights.org.
globalrights.org, where you can see actually some of the infographics.
Yes.
And one of the striking ones is the one which says the reported violent killings breakdown for 2019. And, right at the end there are Enugu State with 4 and Abia State with 1. So can you, in the context of saying these are mass atrocities, why does a state which has one killing or one death, I should say, one fatality,
Mhm.
still come under the heading mass atrocities?
Basically, we actually say it's an atrocity, and it's extremely about the violence,
Yes.
the violent nature of some of these killings.
Yeah. So it's not that everybody who is affected by the violent incident that has to be killed before it qualifies for this report.
And a lot of it is around some of the reasons, Boko Haram accounts, ISWAP attacks, cult, gang-related violence. So you have some of those things that we also look at that basically talk to the reason why it's called an atrocity.
Yes.
Extrajudicial killings as well. So those are some of the things that we basically look at.
So can I ask now to come to my particular bugbears? First of all, with regards to accountability, who do we hold accountable? Or is there in fact any serious attempt at holding people accountable for these mass atrocities?
I think our constitution states who should be held accountable. The responsibility for the protection of the lives of Nigerians lies with the Nigerian government.
Okay.
And of course, its security apparatus, which is derived, because the authority for leadership devolves from us being able to. The reason we're a nation and the reason we submitted ourselves to the leadership is that you will protect us. You will make sure that these things are dealt with, that there's justice, that where there's violence, where there are atrocities, the killers will be found, the perpetrators, the funders of these things will be fished out, and justice will be served. So those are the people to hold accountable.
And in fact, in Nigeria, all the reins of the security apparatus, in one way or the other, they end up in the hands of the president because he's the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. He has operational control of the Nigeria police, and then we have all these other bodies.
The other things that we have, the other bodies, the army and everybody.
So, but what effort, is any effort in fact being made at holding people accountable, or is there any consistency about it?
Absolutely. I think part of the efforts that have been made, this is where, one, even just being able to document, so that we can actually speak and use this as a tool for advocacy to say, look, people are dying, these are the numbers. It's not about, somebody came and sensationalized it or it's a sensational report. So one, that was it. Number two, the other thing that we've been doing, and several groups across the country have been participating, is the Nigerian Mourn. So we have the National Day of Mourning, where we really call attention to these killings. And it's not just about calling attention and saying, oh, people have died and mourning. That is one space, but also there's the call for the government to do its job and find the people who are responsible for this violence and bring them to book. For example, a lot of election-related violence last year. And we've not seen any notable convictions, even though there are such high numbers of people killed. So these are some of the things some of the activities that the National Day of Mourning, Nigeria Mourns as a group tries to do across the country to call attention to these issues. Of course, there are other people, other partners who are going to court, who are trying to call the government to its responsibility
to hold it to account.
To hold them to account, to say, this is happening, how come we're not getting this? There have also been various, of course, we've heard about the cries for the security chiefs to be sacked.
Well, the security chiefs whose tenure has expired.
Exactly, because they're not being effective. We can color it any way we want, but they're not. So these are some of the things that, some of the actions that have gone on and continue to go on. And we continue to record. Even now, January, December, we keep looking at the figures and seeing. I mean, already January is not looking good. I think there are over about almost 400 people killed. Again, violence related. And we're still hearing scary figures every day. So it's quite scary. But definitely, the people to hold to account, the person to hold to account is the commander-in-chief and those whom
and that's both for the mass atrocities where they are reported to have been perpetrated by the by government agencies, but equally where the mass atrocity is perpetrated by an outside agent like a bandit or a terrorist or an insurgent.
A non-state actor. Absolutely. I mean, one of the things that is also striking is that 1 in 6 of these deaths is actually the death of a state security agent, whether a policeman, an army person, and so, of course, our hearts also, because it's not just about saying, oh, the civilians are dying. that means our security forces are depleting.
Yes.
Policemen are dying, army people are dying, and we hear these stories every day. So it's quite, it's very serious.
And do we find that where these things happen, there's any more, whether the level of attempt to discover or find the perpetrators is any more intense, or is it just still put under the pile of, well, this is politically related violence and we just have to live with it?
I think our finding is, sadly, where there are certain personages affected, you see more effort. So if there are people who are more highly political, what's the word?
It's a class thing.
Or class thing, or politically, you know. I mean, I'll just tell you a story where, now this was a kidnapping story, but we know that a lot of these kidnappings end up in death. And a person who is a senior person in the security forces was kidnapped, I think the police. The people who were reporting on this said they were shocked at the sophistication of investigative techniques that were employed to rescue this person, and they rescued this person in the end. You know, but these
and what about the ordinary
tactics that
police
should be
officer
available to everybody, to the everyday policeman, to the everyday Nigerian, to everybody who's out here, because that's why we're here. So that's one thing. The other thing that's very interesting, again, talking about kidnapping, and the trend we're seeing, of course, is that as people kidnap for ransom, these ransoms are feeding.
It's a vicious cycle.
It's a vicious cycle because they now get more money to buy more weapons. My personal view is that really the Nigerian government should have taken a stance long ago not to negotiate with terrorists, or at least pay ransom. I know it's
to
very
trace the money,
or at
to
least
mark
trace the money, find
to
the money, follow the money. You know, so these are some of the things where it comes back again to accountability. You know, and also the ability of the present government to deliver. Is it that they lack the know-how, they lack the capacity, or do they lack the political will?
Or they don't always deploy it. Now, I mean, one of the things, I mean, it's good that you mentioned the present government because I mean, as I said, the D in IDEA stands for democracy. And it's been a tool that has been used by campaigners to actually say that the safety and security of citizens is in fact a political matter. But can you break this down for me a little bit? Because is it a partisan political matter, or is it a governmental matter that we are saying that any government, or that any government needs to be held accountable for as a political matter in a democracy?
Any government should be held accountable. It is, we say when it comes to politics, politics really means things that concern the governing of the people.
Yes.
So the killings of the people, in the real sense of the word, is a political matter. In the sense that this is the people now. People are dying. People are being killed. And of course, as a result, the government should be held accountable. I think what tends to happen in Nigeria, people get caught up in this idea that, they're partisan politics. So if, say, for example, my guy is in power now, if anything happens, we blame the other side.
I have to pretend that it's not happening.
Pretend it's not happening, and vice versa. But it's happening to everybody. It's happening to all of us. So the parties that get in, the government gets in, they're elected to deliver, whether you are XYZ party or ABC party or PDP or whatever it is, deliver the goods. The goods are our lives should be secure. And if we're demanding for that right, in the same way when the girls were kidnapped, bring back our girls, the demands continued all through, whether it was a PDP government or an APC government, we were concerned about the people, about the girls. In the same vein, people are dying. They were dying under the previous administration. They're still dying and increasing, surprisingly, under this administration. They should do their job.
Thank you. Maybe if you have any.
I have a long list of questions for the main public square. It's fine, thank you.
Okay,
So
well,
Thank you.
I want to thank you very much, EF, for coming on and giving us an accountability and democracy perspective. I want to perhaps suggest that there are also some issues connected with integrity and ethics, because when today you say that the safety and security of citizens is a matter of serious concern, and then when you hold the reins of power, it becomes, we can't do everything. Then people are bound to see that also through the prism of integrity. So I want to thank you very much for coming on to Ideas Radio,
Thank you.
and we look forward to having you again, perhaps with a better report than these terrible figures, which has, I think it needs to be emphasized, are on the conservative side.
Yeah, we really hope that will change. Can I just ask that we follow the hashtags Nigeria Mourns National Day of Mourning, which is slated for May 2020. More details will come out.
May 28th or 20th?
No, May this year. We're still figuring out all the dates.
Okay.
But follow the hashtags, follow us on Twitter. Just do hashtag Nigeria Mourns. More information will be coming forth.
And for the graphics and other information about the mass atrocities report, there's also a hashtag, which is Nigerian Mass Atrocities Report.
You can do Nigerian Mass Atrocities Report. You can do Nigeria Mourns as well.
If you find Nigeria Mourns, you'll find the same.
You can follow Global Rights as well.
Yeah. So it's important because when you see the graphics, you get perhaps a clearer picture of the matters at stake. So thank you very much, Ian, for coming on to Ideas Radio.
Thank you.
Give the matter back to Ahoro and to you.
Okay, so Public Square, be right back.